Okay, so PAA 2.4 is pre-algebra algebra 2.4, and all we're doing is looking at linear equations, and we change them a little bit, and we watch what happens. So a coefficient is just a fancy word for number next to a letter. If you have a number that's multiplying or dividing with a letter, a variable, that's called a coefficient. Of course, the letter is called a variable. So the first thing is, if you change the coefficient, so you change the number to a higher number, a slope is more steep. If you change the coefficient to a lower number, the slope is less steep. We have an example. If you have y equals 3x plus 4 and you change it to y equals 5x plus 4, 5 is higher than 3, so your slope would be more steep. Okay, so we said the slope is going to be more steep. So let's graph the first one first. Where's the starting point? 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And your slope is up 3 over what? 1. So up 1, 2, 3 over 1. Up 1, 2, 3 over 1. Can I also go down 1, 2, 3, backwards 1? So your line would look something like this. Right? The next one, what's your starting point? 4. And your slope is up 5 over? So up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over 1. Down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, backwards 1. So your line would look something like this, right? Which line is more steep, the first one or the second one? Second one's more steep. So all you did was your slope went up, so the line became more steep. So the slope is going to be less steep because you went from 3 to 2. You have to look at the absolute value. The absolute value of 3 and the absolute value of 2. So 2 is smaller, so it's less steep. Then on top of that, it went from a positive to a negative. So you have a positive line, then it turned to a negative line. So if we graph it, it's 3x plus 4 and negative 2x plus 4. So you had y equals 3x plus 4. It starts at 4. And it's up 3 over 1, right? Down 3, backwards 1. So the line would look like this. And then we changed it to negative 2x plus 4. So it still starts at 4, but now you go down 2, backwards 1. Or up 2 over 1. So the direction of it changed. And the blue line is less steep than the green line because 2 is smaller than 3. Does that make sense? Okay, real quick, what if you had a line that went like this? Your first one was y equals 3x plus 2. And your second line was y equals negative 8x plus 2. They both would start at 2, correct? Yeah. The blue line would be positive. The green line would be negative, right? If you look at the absolute value, is 8 bigger than 3? Yes. So the green line would be more steep than the blue line because the slope is bigger. You have to look at the absolute value of the slope. Does everybody understand? So if we graph this, the blue line would start at 2. It would go up 3, over 1, up 3, over 1, down 3, backwards 1. The green line would start at 2, but it would go down 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, over 1. Or up 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The green line is way more, well, that's a horrible green line, but the green line is way more steep than the blue line, right? Because the slope is bigger. And the green line turned to be negative. They both started at 2. So this next one is y equals negative 3x plus 4, and we changed the slope to positive 3. The only thing it changed. It's going to be the exact same line, but one line is going to be facing to the left, and one line is going to be facing to the right. A negative line and a positive line. Their slopes have the exact same absolute value. Both of them have a slope of 3. One's just negative, one's just positive. So the next thing they say is, what if you change B or the y-intercept? The y-intercept is your starting point. If B is higher, then you start higher on the graph. If it's lower, then you start lower on the graph. And on your work, they're going to want you to say how many units higher or lower. Okay, example 1 that you're about to write down. It says, how would the graph change the linear function if you have this, y equals 2x minus 3, and the slope changed? You changed the slope to y equals 1/3 x minus 3. They both start where? Yep, both start at -3. Then you would say the second line is more steep or less steep. If you look at 1/3, 1/3 is it higher or lower than 3? Or than 2? So they both start at -3. The second line would be less steep because 1/3 is less than 2. If you look at both their absolute values, 2 is bigger, so it's more steep. 1/3 is less steep. Okay, number 2 says, how would the graph change in the linear equation? So they give you this equation, y equals -2/5 x plus 2. The slope remains the same, but the y-intercept changed to -3. So the slope's the same, the y changed to -3. So you would say, the slope's the same. The second line starts, if the first one starts at 2 and the second one starts at -3, how many units apart are they? Think about it. If you had to go from 2 down to 0 and 0 to -3, how many units is that? 5. Second line starts 5 units down. Which one's closer to the origin? Which one's closer to the origin, the starting point? Which one's closer to 0? 2. This one, 2 is closer to 0 than -3 is, right? So if it asks which one's closer to the origin, you know the first line is closer to the origin because it's closer to 0, 0, the starting point. This says, how would the graph below change if the slope was changed to -2? So the first thing we need to do is know what our equation is. So this is y equals, crosses here, crosses here, crosses here. What's your slope, which is rise over run? Rise up how many? Over, is it positive or negative? Negative. What letter goes with slope? And where's it cross the y-axis? At 2. And it says the slope is changed to -2. So they're both going to start where? At 2. Let me switch colors here. They're both going to start at 2. The second line is down 2 over 1. Down 2 over 1. Or up 2 over 1. If you look at the absolute value of the slope, 2 or 1/2, which one's bigger? 2. So the second one should be more steep or less steep? More. So your answer to this would be they both start at 2. And you would say the second line is more steep. They're both negative, right? You can also say they're both negative. If it asks you about the origin, which one's closer to the origin? They're both? Yep, they're both start at 2, but when I graph it, which line comes closer to the origin? The second one came closer to the origin, right? So let's graph it. Let's write the equation for this graph. Y equals, it crosses perfectly here, here, here. So it's rise over run, up how many over how many? Up 2 over 1. Do I have to put over 1, or is it kind of understood?
It's understood.
Okay, what letter goes with your slope? And where does it cross the y-axis? 4. Okay, it says, what if they change, the slope is going to be the same, and they change the y-intercept to 7. So what's going to happen? It's going to start how many units higher? 3. So you would just say the slope's the same. You could say both positive. The second line starts 3 units higher. If it started higher, if it's up here at 7, which one's closer to the origin, the first line or second line?
First.
The first one. This one will be closer to the origin. Jeffrey received $30 for mowing his neighbor's yard. He wants to save his money to purchase a new game for his gaming console. He decides to save the $30 and add $5 from his allowance each week. The amount of money that he has saved for any given time is shown in the graph below. So where did he start? $30. And how much did he save each week? So $5 each week, plus he already had $30, right? 30 is his starting point, it goes up 5 each week. I want to know, what is your y-intercept? Where did it start? What does the y-intercept represent?
The money he started with.
The money he started with, the money he got from mowing and saved it, right? The money he started with. What's your slope or rate of change? How much does he save? $5 each week. And what does the slope represent?
The money he saved each week.
The amount of money he saved each week. Okay, number 9. How would the graph change if he reduced his starting point by $5? How would the graph change? It would start higher or start lower? Start lower. And then number 10, what about if he doubled the amount of money he saved a week? How would the graph change? It'd be steeper. 10 is bigger than 5, right? So it would be steeper.